Alright guys, welcome back to more Ignorance in Basketball. Now before we get into this Game 1 breakdown, and shout out to those Suns for making the Western Conference Finals. Nobody has believed in this team except for us, but it's all good because they dumb. But before we get into the breakdown, a couple quick things. One, we may or may not be streaming these games on Discord, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Watching it as a cult is much more muy bien. Two, after the games, I go live on Twitch. We break everything down play by play. We roast the fucking Clippers post game interviews when they look stupid and sad, lost, and confused. And last but certainly not least, like I told you guys in the other video, the Death Valley t-shirt will be gone on Tuesday and it will never be back. So if you're interested in that, the link for all that good stuff is down below. I told you guys when we do meet and greets, the t-shirt is how you'll be able to get in. Because we're going to keep things limited because we are a smaller channel. So if you're interested in that, like I said, all the links are in that young YouTube description. But let's get into this video because as you all know, I'm a bit of a psychopath when it comes to basketball. And look, I'm not here for fun and games. Okay? Ring season is all I can process. I look at everything like a fucking android. It's like, are you hurting or helping ring season? If you're hurting it, you can go fuck yourself. And everything when it comes to the NBA I see is through the is this good for the Suns' chances of winning a chip? Even when we'll be watching the fucking Sixers Hawks game later today, that's all I'm thinking about. Like, which one is a better matchup for the Suns? That's all I give a shit about. Every other team can go fuck itself. I have no interest in you. You are the enemy. And it's nothing personal, it's just reality. So, I really wanted to make sure that obviously the Suns won, and that's great. And we love that, especially because the Clippers are my least favorite quote unquote organization. I'm like, are they even really a team? I guess. But they're my least favorite team in the NBA. And I love to see Playoff P get fucking played because he looks stupid and is obnoxious as shit. But like I said, I just wanted to make sure that this was repeatable and sustainable and not just Devin Booker going the fuck off and having to play hero ball to save the Suns, So I watched these highlights a fuck ton. Obviously, I watched the game, and I'm going to hit y'all with what I saw. So when the game first started, I noticed that the Suns look a little bit rusty. I mean, it makes sense. They haven't played in over a week. And the Clippers, even though you could say maybe they were tired, they're clearly in a rhythm. I think playing the Jazz gave them confidence, even though it shouldn't because the Jazz play no fucking defense at all, and they play hero ball. It's like the difference between Booker's aggressiveness and Donovan Mitchell is Donovan Mitchell was just basically playing fucking hero ball. I think Booker was getting to his spots. He was a lot more patient. He wasn't just jacking up 150 fucking threes. He didn't take that many threes. He got to his spot. He knows he's really good at the fucking mid-range. There's only so much they can do to stop him there. And he beat that ass. And that is why I fuck with Devin Booker's game. So anybody who thinks that he's just going to choke because he's young is fucking stupid. But we know that, and we've covered that. And that does not surprise us. Now, for me, them being rusty was actually a really good sign because obviously I assumed they were going to get over that, which clearly they did. Even though the Suns didn't play great that first quarter, it was tied. And Playoff P, it's fucking ridiculous that you can give yourself that nickname. Be like, you're a fucking clown. The fact that you don't realize that makes sense because you're a clown, so why would you? But the fact that they were tied was a great sign because Paul George was hitting everything. This motherfucker could not miss. Them as a team, they were hitting a lot of good shots, and the Suns weren't, but they were still tied. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's a really good sign. Another thing that makes me optimistic about Game 2 is E'Twaun Moore's performance. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but if you watch the game, you know that he was ass. Which is so disappointing because here in Death Valley, which again is the name of this cult, you're either with it or you're the enemy. But the thing, we were rooting for him. We were all just bitching about giving this man minutes since the Lakers series. He got none. The few minutes he did play, he played better than he did this fucking entire game. I don't know where the Etuan Moore that we saw glimpses of was today, but he did not show up. Unfortunately, it is what it is, but Suns still got the win. So I'm thinking he'll play better next game if Chris Paul is not available, and if Chris Paul is available, then obviously he'll be an upgrade over this Etuan Moore that we saw. And we'll still have Cameron Payne, who actually played well. Hopefully he'll play as well as he did today, still on the bench. We'll see about that. Like I talked about in the last video, the Nuggets series he didn't play as well. I assumed it was because he came off the bench. You know, some players struggle with that. It's a tough thing to deal with. I would assume. I've never been in the NBA, unfortunately for them, because my post-game interviews would be a 10 out of 10 every time, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, I'm not 7 feet tall. But who knows? I may have a lake roll spurt. You never know. I can dream, can't I? But that was one thing I noticed. Obviously, we had Sarge tonight. Dario wasn't really anywhere to be found. What did Sarge do today? He got dunked on. He had no field goals. It just wasn't a pretty game. So, unfortunately, we did have Sarge tonight. He basically single-handedly revitalized Boogie Cousins from the grave. So that wasn't amazing to see. But again, Suns got the win, and that is the most important thing. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was Mikal Bridges. This man, I've been saying it all fucking season. He may not drop 50 every night, but he is like that PJ Tucker-esque player that you fucking need on your team if you want to win a ring. The blocks, multiple that he had on Paul George late, were huge. The steal that he had late off of Reggie Jackson, who is probably top 5 ugliest human beings I've ever seen in my life. And that's just what it is, Reggie. I'm sorry, but you're goofy looking. And you can either accept that and move on, or fight it. But either way, it is the reality that we all live in. But Mikal had that huge steal that led to a dunk. He hit the corner three. Like, he had some really big plays. He had the dunk with like 2 minutes left. He was fucking huge, especially late. Devin Booker, like, I don't even know what else I need to say. The man was fucking amazing. He had a 40-point triple-double and shot over 50% from the field. It's like, you have your first triple-double when they really needed it. And I don't know how many turnovers I don't know how many turnovers Booker had, but as a team, they only had 7. So, it couldn't have been that many. So, I mean, Booker was fucking amazing. And like I said, I was really glad that he wasn't just jacking up a bunch of threes. He took 29 shots, which isn't that much more than he usually takes. And he was aggressive, but in a smart way. He was just aggressive getting to his spot. He wasn't forcing shit. Obviously, his passing was on point. He had like 11 assists today. He had 12 boards. The most fucking important rebound to seal the game. He sealed the game with free throws. He had that dunk late. He was fucking phenomenal. Everybody showed up except for Sarge and Moore. Cam Johnson came in the game, hitting shots immediately. Cameron Payne, like I said, they could not stop this man from getting to the lane. He was on another level. He definitely did his thing. We'll go over everybody's points later, but he was fucking huge. Crowder was hitting him later in the game. He missed a couple early, but he was super efficient. We already talked about Mikal. Ayton was big. The only thing I'll say about Ayton, and this obviously isn't his fault, but I feel like if you're going to use him late, I think you should use him more offensively later in the game to kind of counteract him basically having to give up an open three. Because that's what the Jazz didn't do. You can post him up. It's a bit risky because this motherfucker drops the ball a shit ton and he's not amazing at passing out of the double team, but I mean, he's good enough, and I think the Suns swing the ball fast enough to like counteract him not hitting the exact right person. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. So maybe try to post him up, at least put him in some pick and rolls where he's diving hard to the rim or something like that. That's like the only criticism I have. I think that's why the Clippers, I don't even want to remember their name because they're such a garbage fucking organization. But I think that's why the Clippers were able to come back late, which was a little scary. But in Clipper fashion, they couldn't close it out because they pussy. And speaking of pussy, Paul George, I noticed you didn't do shit in the entire fourth quarter, which I will say on Discord I called it. Because, like, bro, you had a good game for most of the game, but there's no way you can sustain that shit for 4 quarters. And not only that, but when I was watching the highlights for like the 12th time, I noticed you weren't even asking for the ball like at all late. You looked scared, which doesn't surprise me because you're sensitive as fuck. Um, and hey man, that is what it is. So overall, I think this was a fucking great win. No Chris Paul, no problem. Hopefully that motherfucker comes back as soon as possible because you could see they needed him late. They pulled it out, which is great, but this team with and without Chris Paul are very different teams. So, okay, so let's go over the game states. So, the Suns out-rebounded the Clippers, which doesn't surprise me because the Clippers like to go small. Honestly, they only out-rebounded them by 4, and I think a lot of that had to do with all the fucking offensive rebounds they gave up late in the game, which pissed me off, but it is what it is. Hopefully they never do that shit again. It was 43 to 39, 31 assists. That's really good. 5 steals, 3 blocks. And again, they only had 7 turnovers as a team, which is insane. They shot 55% from the field, 100% from free throw, which is huge. Now, I think there was a huge just discrepancy with the calls. The refs were just fucking garbage. What's new? But fuck them. And they ended up shooting 40% from the three-point line, which is muy bien. But let's go over the Clipper stats, I guess. I don't want to, but it is what it is. We already went over the rebounding. So 23 assists for the Clippers, 6 steals, 3 blocks, 9 turnovers, which I think we could get that number up. They only ended up shooting 46% from the field, which is great defense, 82% from the free throw, and 43% from 3. So another thing that made me feel good about this is Paul George. Because this motherfucker shot like 60% from 3, even with not having a great fourth quarter. And I just don't see him doing that again. Maybe one other time, but the whole series, you think he's going to average 60% from 3? Hell nah. Next game, hell nah. I don't see him being able to do that back-to-back times. So if he's cold, unless Luke Kennard goes off for fucking 50 points, which isn't going to happen because the Suns are not the Jazz, and they don't just give up free points for no fucking reason, I think the Suns are good. I think they should be able to take them out in Game 2, and I don't think they'll need a Devin Booker triple-double to do it. Maybe use Ayton a bit more. I've also heard that their Morris twin may or may not be healthy in the next game. So we'll see about that. I want him to play. I like when they go small. I think with Zubats, especially if there's no Chris Paul, their defense is better. Honestly, their rebounding is better. They actually have somebody to protect the rim, and that makes Cameron Payne a little bit less effective, but we'll see. So let's go over everybody's stats and see how everybody played. So Jay Crowder, first off, 33 minutes. He was 50% from the field. 3 of 7 from 3, really good, with 13 points and 6 boards, 2 assists, not bad at all. Cameron Johnson, 24 minutes, which is good. I think he played really well today. Shout out to him. 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Great fucking numbers with 12 points and 4 boards. You know, defensively, he wasn't bad. He was attacking the rim a bit more, so he was good, man. He was really solid. Now, again, we did have Sarge, not Dario, unfortunately. 11 minutes, he only took 1 field goal. I remember it was that mid-range jump shot, and he missed it, of course, because it's Sarge, and Sarge cannot shoot. Dario is a sniper and actually the best athlete of all time. But Sarge, not so much. But he finished with 2 points, 2 assists, and only 1 rebound because obviously Sarge does not have any sort of vertical. Now, Torrey Craig was huge today. Now, I think Craig should be taking damn near all of Saric's minutes. Now, not Dario, but Saric's minutes. Because Saric has the athleticism of a dead person. And they're damn near the same size, honestly. They say Saric is like 6'8", Craig is 6'7", and way more athletic, better rebounder, better defender, perimeter, and inside, I think. So I think he should just take his minutes, but we'll see. But Craig played 15 minutes. He was 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3. That's huge. And he had 8 points and 6 boards. See what I mean? Better. Galloway didn't play, obviously. Aiden, 37 minutes, which is a little high for him, but for this series, I think he's just going to have to be there. He was 10 of 14 from the field, which is great. 20 points, 2 assists, 9 boards. He was good. He was good. Again, I think they could have used him even more than they did, but they got the win, so I'm not going to be complaining too much. Cameron Payne, 30 minutes. 5 of 10 from the field. He was only 1 of 4 from 3. He had 11 points. He had 9 assists, though, damn. And 3 boards. Now, I think he could play even better next game. He's probably the best 3-point shooter on this team. Statistically, at least. I think he's like 42, 44% or some crazy shit like that. So, campaign, I'm expecting big things from you, bruh. Now, we'll save Booker for last, the least I could do. Now, Mikal Bridges, 36 minutes. I'm surprised he didn't play more, honestly. I think it's because Johnson and Craig played so well. But he was 6 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. He could play even better. 14 points, 2 assists, 1 board. He was huge, man. Bridges is always fucking great. Again, he's somebody I can never complain about. Man works on his game. He gets better every year. He does little things that people may not notice, like the blocks and the cutting and the steals. He was just fucking amazing today. Whether he's hitting shots or not, he is a difference maker for your team, and I can appreciate a player like that. So let's get into Booker's minutes. He played 44 minutes, which is high as shit. But, I mean, with this team, I get it, especially with Etuan playing the way he did. He was 15 of 29 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, 40 points, 11 assists, and 13 rebounds. Goddamn. So shout out to Booker for that. But you know what's funny? I skipped Etuan Moore because I just saw straight zeros and I didn't even register it. Etuan Moore, 11 minutes, 0 of 1 from the field, 0 points, 2 assists, 0 boards. You see what I mean? Moore, you're better than that. You're better than that. We believe in you here in Death Valley. We believe in you. So, that's it for today's video. Like I said, if there's a game, check the Discord. If there's a Suns game, it's definitely going to be there. I'm telling you guys, I would get there quickly because spots fill up. We only got 25. And it is much more fun watching the game as a cult, I'm telling you. So, that's it for the day. Appreciate you guys for stopping by, listening to me rant for 20 minutes. And I'll see y'all on Tuesday. Peace.